hour on VTV News. State President announces appointment decisions on 2 deputy prime ministers and 4 ministers. And goods value under $40 to be subject to VAT tax. In our world news, Russian and U.S. diplomats hold talks in Saudi Arabia.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, VTV News starts right now.
Good morning. It is 8 a.m. local time in Hanoi and you're watching VTV News. I'm Huynh Tan with the top stories. On Tuesday morning, the National Assembly passed the revised law on government organization with majority support. The law contains 5 chapters and 32 articles and aims to streamline and improve the efficiency of the government apparatus in line with party policy. The revised law establishes new principles for decentralization and updates the delegation procedures. It clarifies the Prime Minister's authority during urgent situations that affect national interests, while outlining clear responsibilities for all stakeholders. The law also maintains alignment with the revised draft law on local administration organization. State President Lương Cường on February 18th presided over a ceremony to announce the presidential decisions appointing 2 deputy prime ministers and 4 ministers serving for the 2021 to 2026 term. Accordingly, Mai Văn Chính and Nguyễn Chí Dũng have been appointed as deputy prime ministers, Trần Hồng Minh as Minister of Construction, Nguyễn Mạnh Hùng as Minister of Science and Technology, Đỗ Đức Duy as Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, and Đào Ngọc Dung as Minister of Ethnic and Religious Affairs. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính and other leaders of the party and state presented flowers to congratulate the new cabinet members. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính chaired a conference on Tuesday to implement the National Assembly's resolution on the structure of the government and assign tasks to several government members for the 2021 to 2026 term. More to follow.
On behalf of the government, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính congratulated the newly appointed deputy prime ministers and ministers, while also recognizing the contributions of former government members as they transition to new assignments. The Prime Minister emphasized that the government's current tasks are challenging, particularly in striving for sustainable double-digit growth and advancing the country in the new era. The Prime Minister urged lawmakers to promote initiative, flexibility, creativity, and efficiency in building a government that serves the people. He also called for unity and solidarity, contributing to a strong party, and intensified efforts to combat corruption, wastefulness, and negativity. He emphasized the importance of mobilizing people's strength and resources to drive the country's development, implementing the 3 strategic breakthroughs and strengthening foreign relations to foster peace, cooperation, and development.
I thank the party, the state, and the agencies for their constant leadership, guidance, and support in helping the government build the party and the political system. Congratulations to all, and I hope you continue contributing your experience to the country. I also urge the government to stay united, follow through on commitments, and deliver clear results. Only then can we fulfill the tasks assigned by the party, state, and people.
And on the afternoon of February 18th, immediately after appointing new members, the Standing Committee of the National Assembly met and passed a resolution on its agency tasks, powers, and organizational structure. The committee praised the drafting team's urgency and thoughtfulness, emphasizing that refining regulations will enhance operational efficiency. The resolution must align with the functions of the Council of Nationalities and the committees as outlined in the amended law on the organization of the National Assembly. The committee also approved the structure and working principles, calling for a clear definition of interagency relationships and managing specialized departments. It urged the swift development of regulations on civil servant management, ensuring operational conditions, and amending the resolution on the functions of the National Assembly Office. The National Assembly's adoption of a resolution on government membership, the organization of National Assembly agencies, and the revised number of National Assembly Standing Committee members marked a key step in improving the state apparatus. Deputies noted that the new government organizational structure fosters cohesion among ministries and also strengthens the National Assembly's legislative and supervisory roles. This lays the foundation for an efficient apparatus that supports sustainable development.
Once the resolution takes effect, the National Assembly and the government can launch their agencies, and localities will develop their structures based on a streamlined model.
I greatly appreciate the readiness of government members and the organization of the government and the National Assembly. The National Assembly deputies have strongly approved all laws regarding their organization.
It helps streamline focal points while clearly assigning functions and tasks, ensuring the selection of qualified individuals to meet requirements.
Deputies expressed hopes for increased efficiency and effectiveness in the state apparatus with the promotion of decentralization.
Many voters support strong decentralization, as it requires all levels to make significant efforts and improve their management capacity. Additionally, it helps clarify the responsibilities at each level.
This is a fundamental revolution to promote democracy, empowering localities to think, act, and boldly take responsibility.
The National Assembly has shown its responsibility by quickly completing and amending relevant laws to establish a new apparatus, helping the country enter a new era and achieve its goals.
Now, during a Tuesday meeting with the Secretary of the Guangxi Regional Party Committee, Chen Gang, Party General Secretary To Lam praised Guangxi's leading role in cooperation with Vietnam and asked the province to collaborate with Vietnamese provinces in trade, infrastructure, technology, innovation, and AI. He also emphasized accelerating smart border gate pilot projects and strengthening border management. In response, the Secretary of the Guangxi Regional Party Committee pledged to boost trade, infrastructure, and cultural exchanges while contributing to developing a shared future between Vietnam and China. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính met with Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez Barilla on Tuesday evening. He praised the strong, exemplary Vietnam-Cuba relationship, and he urged both sides to enhance delegation exchanges at all levels, closely coordinating in implementing agreed-upon commitments, and prioritize cooperation in key areas such as food production, renewable energy, biotechnology, and healthcare. He also emphasized the joint Vietnam-Cuba Friendship Year activities to celebrate the 65th anniversary of diplomatic relations. Both countries agreed to effectively coordinate measures to promote economic, trade, investment relations, and other sectors. Coming up next on VTV News. Goods valued under $40 to be subject to VAT tax. An inspection team ensures operation of hydropower plant on Vietnam and Laos border. Welcome back to VTV News. Now, from Tuesday, imported goods valued under $40 via express delivery will be subject to value-added tax as per Decision 01 of the Prime Minister. This policy is expected to boost state budget revenue by over $105 million while ensuring fair competition between domestic and imported goods, as both will be taxed and subject to specialized inspection and food safety regulations.
Although primarily an exporter, this enterprise generates over $19 million annually in domestic retail revenue, with 80% of its products valued under $40. Before decision number 01, the domestic retail sector faced unfair competition, as imported goods under $40 were exempt from value-added tax.
As we must pay V8. At the same time, cross-border e-commerce companies avoid it on small-value orders, allowing them to sell at lower prices. This makes it attractive for consumers to buy from them. This decision is very timely.
Despite their small value, these items generate a high number of declarations with diverse types and tax rates. The General Department of Customs anticipates many taxable orders, increasing the workload, while Vietnam's automatic customs system cannot calculate taxes on low-value goods.
In the early days, Customs lacked an adequate information system, requiring businesses to file paper declarations and making the service untenable. Currently, the system does not support this function, so we guide businesses to avoid errors to ensure faster customs clearance. Soon, the customs system will be improved.
We maintain the current declaration form to save businesses from adjusting their systems or retraining staff. When tax declarations become necessary, we promptly add required fields to ensure full and immediate tax reporting.
The General Department of Customs is urgently upgrading the remote customs declaration system to facilitate electronic customs procedures and tax collection for low-value imported goods via express delivery services.
Haiphong has proposed contributing nearly 11 trillion Vietnam dong, or $440 million to the Lao Cai-Hanoi Haiphong Railway project. The city budget will fund land clearance and the construction of the southern part of the Haiphong and Do Sum branch line before 2030. The railway follows an optimal route along the Red River and the Hanoi-Lao Cai Expressway, ensuring seamless road and rail connections. It aims to boost Vietnam-China trade while linking East Asia, Central Asia, and Europe, driving urban, industrial, and tourism growth along the economic corridor. The Sikaman 1 hydropower plant in Atapu, Laos, reaches peak electricity generation from January to May each year. And during this period, Vietnam's transmission team ventures deep into the mountains to inspect lines, ensuring stable and safe power flow from Laos to the Vietnam border.
They traverse tall grass-covered mountain paths under the scorching sun from early morning. A day of inspecting the transmission lines for the Sikaman 1 power company in Atapu, southern Laos, stretches on until evening.
Their main task is to check the transmission line's temperature for safety. With locals clearing land for farming, the team uses drones and educates people to prevent forest fires that could damage the lines.
The team of just over 10 people is responsible for 3 of the 220 kV control points on the transmission line, which spans over 70 kilometers from Sikaman 1 hydropower in Laos to the Phie substation in Kon Tum. Their work and lives are closely tied to remote villages in Laos, fostering a strong, united bond between Vietnamese and Lao colleagues.
Working with the transmission team, I'm proud and grateful for the support of my Vietnamese colleagues. They've taught me a lot, and the unity and care here make me feel like part of a family.
In a remote village near the Vietnam-Laos-Cambodia border, the team grows their food to ensure fresh meals, and tending to the plants is an enjoyable pastime after work.
Due to the company's location in a remote area of Laos, we've worked hard to ensure the well-being of our staff. We developed a farming system to be self-sufficient in food, preparing for situations where we might be isolated and unable to buy supplies.
Being far from home can cause homesickness, but the pride in contributing to the friendship between Vietnam and Laos motivates us to work hard and complete our tasks excellently.
Power transmission is challenging, but these dedicated workers remain optimistic and responsible, ensuring safe power delivery across the country.
South Korea seeks general laborers from Vietnam in fisheries, agriculture, and industry, and workers must apply and fulfill the conditions to work legally in South Korea. Our following story has more.
South Korea is recruiting workers aged 18 to 39. Applicants must have completed secondary school or higher, depending on the job. They must not have relatives living illegally in the country or a criminal record. Applicants should not be from areas banned from entering South Korea or leaving Vietnam. They must pass a Korean language test to receive an EPS certificate. Afterwards, workers will be introduced to employers, sign contracts, and undergo orientation before departing for South Korea. The work period is 4 years and 10 months, with a maximum stay of 9 years and 8 months.
I registered at the Provincial Job Center, attended a Korean language course, and took the exam. After passing, I was selected.
South Korea will assess the skills of skilled workers in welding and metal cutting. Then, they will take a Korean language test. If they pass, they will sign a contract with the factory. Each year, 9,000 to 10,000 people from Vietnam go to South Korea on the E9 visa. Since 2012, South Korea has allowed businesses to re-employ workers with 6 or 4 years and 10 months of continuous service, except for reasons like bankruptcy.
I started working in South Korea in 2019 and completed my contract on time. The company has renewed my contract, so I must reapply for a visa to remain in the country.
Workers who complete 9 years and 8 months in South Korea and pass the Korean language test can become long-term employees, eligible to re-enter and work in the country permanently.
The 2025 Xuân Hồng or Red Spring Festival successfully gathered over 9,000 units of blood nationwide, with approximately 11,500 people registering to donate. The collected blood helps meet urgent needs for emergency cases, medical treatments, research, and replenishing critical low reserves after the long Tet holiday. And according to the National Institute of Hematology and Blood Transfusion, Vietnam requires around 5,500 blood donations daily, but currently only meets about 80% of this demand. The National Blood Center continues to support provinces in the north-central region, such as Thanh Hóa and Nghệ An, as well as some areas of the Mekong Delta. Pho is considered one of the most widely promoted Vietnamese dishes worldwide. And with the blossoming of Vietnam-China relations and increasing numbers of Chinese tourists visiting Vietnam, Vietnamese restaurants are booming in cities across China.
Nguyen of Susu restaurant in Beijing carefully prepares pho using sugarcane instead of MSG to create a sweet, smooth flavor that suits Chinese taste while maintaining the essence of Vietnamese pho. Despite similar dishes in China, pho's unique qualities attract both Chinese and international customers.
To make the broth, I roast onions, ginger, and beef bones before cooking them for 10 to 12 hours. I then let the broth sit overnight to become richer and more flavorful the next day.
Susu, named the top Vietnamese restaurant in Beijing, has opened 10 locations in 14 years. With Chef Lê Ngọc Quyền investment, the chain aims to open 1 new restaurant annually. Pho's light, authentic flavor is gaining popularity in major cities across China.
When customers enjoy our food, it feels like they're visiting Vietnam. Sharing on TikTok has helped spread the word, and now people in China actively find our restaurant through social media.
The goal is to bring pho and Vietnamese cuisine worldwide, whether by Vietnamese or Chinese owners. Some businesses have also created instant pho boxes using advanced freezing technology for a restaurant-quality experience.
Coming up next in our world news. Russian and U.S. diplomats hold talks in Saudi Arabia. and European leaders hold emergency summit in Paris. Now moving on to our world news, the first official high-level meeting between Russia and the U.S. in years took place on Tuesday in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. U.S. officials included Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Special Envoy for Middle East Affairs Steve Witkoff, while Russia was represented by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and President Putin's Foreign Policy Advisor Yuri Ushakov. The talks focus on restoring complex U.S.-Russia relations, addressing the Ukraine issue, and possibly arranging a summit between President Putin and Trump. Additionally, lifting Western sanctions on Russia and joint Arctic projects was discussed. However, the U.S. State Department clarified that the meeting was not the start of formal peace talks, but a follow-up to the phone conversation between President Trump and President Putin. Both sides are simply exploring the possibility of a new phase in their relationship. Now, ahead of the Russia-U.S. foreign ministers' meeting, European leaders held an emergency summit in Paris to align on Ukraine and respond to any U.S.-Russia agreements. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called for U.S.-Europe unity in ensuring Ukraine's security and stressed NATO's collective action. He also said it's too early to discuss peacekeeping forces in Ukraine without a ceasefire. European leaders agreed to increase defense spending and lead security efforts for Ukraine, including providing more weapons, such as air defense systems and missiles. Next week, a high-level EU delegation will visit Ukraine to mark 3 years since the conflict began, showing Europe's continuous support. China recently held a forum on private sector economics where President Xi Jinping urged greater confidence and efforts to promote healthy, high-quality private sector growth. He called on companies to contribute to China's modernization and common prosperity while removing barriers to equal access to resources and financing. He also emphasized opening infrastructure sectors to private investment. The forum featured leaders of major Chinese tech companies, including Huawei's Ren Zhengfei, Xiaomi's Lei Jun, BYD's Wang Changfu, and Alibaba's Jack Ma. This signals China's commitment to easing regulations and encouraging innovation to support private businesses amid economic challenges. In southern Tasmania, Australia, a family has volunteered to collect rainfall data on their farm for over a century, sending it to the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. The dedicated contributions of multiple generations have helped map climate patterns and also monitor water resources in Australia. More to follow.
Every morning at 9 a.m., Richie Nichols performs a familiar task, checking the manual rain gauge at his family farm in Richmond, Tasmania. After recording the data, he sends it to the Australian Bureau of Meteorology. This task has been carried out by his family since 1915.
We go out and we measure the rainfall. We've got a gauge, and then we record that in a book, and then we enter those into a BOM website.
Rainfall data is vital for climate research and flood predictions. The Nichols family has provided this data for over 100 years, starting with Richie's grandfather. Their dedication was recently recognized with the 100-Year Excellence Award from the Governor of Tasmania and the Australian Bureau of Meteorology.
A lot, because of all the recognition, not from myself, but all those who preceded me, and kept the rainfall records, because it's very important in terms of collecting climate data and how that affects the agricultural production in the valley. I kept the rainfall records because it's very important in terms of collecting climate data and how that affects the agricultural production in the valley.
Nichols hopes future generations of his family will continue the tradition of collecting rainfall data as previous generations have done. They are working to preserve this valuable legacy, contributing to a better understanding of climate change and protecting water resources for future generations.
And as usual, let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.